I am Prometheus, and you are just a god.
You guys want to know what the most infuriating thing is when you're playing comp, right? And you have your duelists that insta-locked, and you have nobody wants to talk, and everybody decides to push a site round one. They decide to go A, decide to go B, whatever it is. And what usually happens is they'll push really hard, and they'll get stopped, and somebody will die, and it won't be any fun. And what usually ensues is a lot of sitting there, not knowing what's going on. Everybody's jumping around, moving. Some people are deciding to leave. Some people are deciding to go. And if you guys do go, you guys are making a lot of noise. And then guess what? The enemies can hear that noise. So let's say, for example, you're pushing A on split, and you got 5 of you guys here, and you guys are all pushing, right? And then maybe 2 of you die, but maybe you guys get a trade, so it's a 4v3. Then you guys decide to rotate away, and then you got a bunch of apes running through sewers making all those splishy noises. Well, guess what? The enemy knows you're leaving. But believe it or not, there's this thing called silence where you can shift walk and you don't make any footsteps and you're rotating. And this is something that I think a lot of people don't really think about when playing the game. When you decide to hit a site, or you decide you guys get a kill, right? And you guys decide to rotate, you guys need to be quiet, because if you're loud, the enemy knows you're rotating and you're not going to be there. You're leaving. Essentially, that you're leaving. Maybe you keep one there, but for the most part, you're leaving. So that note lets the defenders know to fucking book it to the other site, because they know that you're leaving. But if you keep it quiet, that allows you the opportunity to either re-hit the site, walk away quietly, and re-clear the flank together, and you can trade off any guys that are flanking you and then re-hit the other side together. And it also requires the defending team to use util to re-clear, like to see if you're still there, so that they're wasting their utility, and you're just going to be a lot better off. And I think this is a really good skill to have, is to have the discipline not to run everywhere like a bunch of monkeys. So I know I just rambled a bunch, but we're going to look at some rounds where this basically kind of works. So I'm taking us to TSM versus Gen G on pistol round. And if you notice, they have this Viper wall up, and this Viper wall is really good, right? Because when they put it up, it blocks any vision from heaven or rafters, and they can't really see anyone walking in, like, at all, and it's kind of busted. So if they're really quiet, they can work a really good kill, or they can execute on site really quickly. So eventually TSM is going to group up together and towards B main, and Leviathan and who's with him? Bang, looks like they're trying to work a pick on this B main guy, this guy on B site. And he puts up the wall. These guys group up together, and Leviathan ends up getting a kill from a guy trying to peek the Viper wall. Now watch, they move around a little bit, so there's a couple noises. They bait out a molly. The molly comes out, and then Raze is peeking, like, hey, what's going on over here? You know? Now look, all 4 of them are walking away very quietly while Jet's holding the mid push, so nobody's pushing through mid. So there's no possible way, the tripwire's still up, there's no possible way that they know that they're rotating. Now, Gen G is like, oh, shoot, they could still be here with this Viper wall. They could walk up and re-hit again. This KO is using his knife to clear out mid to see maybe they're pushing up mid. Oh, no one's in mail, so they can't be in mail. They can't be towards mid. They didn't see anybody. So now they're all walking. They're walking. They start making noises. Sky flashes, whatever. Omen flashes. He gets a kill. They get the trade, which is good. I think TSM usually wins this round if Michael, I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm sorry. But he places a really good cage, gets a really cheeky kill, and he plays around on site. Jet's sort of on a late lurk. Or Whitell, whoever. But that really should have worked. I think that their Cypher played that really well, and you got a couple really big kills. But yeah, you guys need to be quiet when you rotate sides. So I'm going to take us to another round where this actually works for a team. For our next example, something else I want to talk about is when you decide to hard hit a site, you don't need to run. You don't. Watch this. So Xset versus Sentinels. Xset is deciding to hit a site. They cage the cross, like every Cypher does. Silver darts A long. And as you can see, the Astra's working their way up towards A long. The Jet and Silver are getting ready to follow. Cypher's watching for any pushes out mid. Doesn't see anything. Sprays the door a little bit to create a little bit of distraction. And now look. They have worked all the way up A long. Getting ready for an A execute here. Sky is basically, she's working up kind of late. But they haven't made a single step. Sentinels has no idea that they're about to get busted on A. Until the Silver drone, which they have to use. He has to use the Silver drone in order to get the information that they're not pushing A, right? So even if they weren't there, they would have wasted the Silver drone. And as you see that Sova drone, it's gonna, like, at the very end, you saw it. Let me see if I can rewind that just a quick second. As it's coming up, you'll see it a quick second. It'll catch Sova's butt, I think. And these guys were waiting out the Sova drone. I think it saw them, so they knew that they were coming. But honestly, this was still a really good execute, and it would 10's good for 2, like usual. And they just had no idea the hit was coming because they were quiet. They weren't running like a bunch of apes, like everybody does in our ranked games, because everybody likes to run for some reason. And then I'm just gonna let the round play out. They get ready for the retake. Asher ends up putting her wall down, and it becomes a 1v or a 2v1. Dapper versus Aaron and BCJ. Jumps down, gets a nasty kill, and they play around the box. I just think this is really cool. But yeah, when you execute on sites or you decide to like 5 or 4 hit something, you don't need to run. Like, running gives away so much information, and if you're just quiet, your executes are gonna run like usually a lot smoother. Especially if you're somebody on your team like that Cypher was making noise in garage, shooting the doors and whatnot. He was making a distraction, making it seem like they're trying to make a little bit of mid presence. And the reason why that worked is because the camera that he had was looking out towards mid, saw nobody there. So it's like, okay, well, they don't know that I'm the only one here. So he starts shooting the door to make it look like there's not just him there. You know, he's making a little bit of mid presence, so they don't think that they're about to 4-hit A. So yeah, stop running to places when you execute on sites, guys. Just sometimes you can run, obviously, but sometimes it's a lot better just to walk. So, on to the next clip. All right, so I'm taking us over to 100 Thieves versus Envy, round 5 on Icebox. This is another good example of being quiet and how it can bait rotates away from your team, right? So they decide to take B main pretty aggressively. Omen TPs. I don't know if Arena Flash, but I know the Sova is droning up, so that's really good. Omen TPs across, yada, yada, yada. That's all good and whatnot. They're not making any noise before they start their B execute here. And why that is, I'm not too sure. But then once they decide to execute, Envy does a really good job, by the way, of stalling like this plant. Like this one plant spot, this little corner that they're trying to plant in is really important. So Viper has her orb there, Killjoy has a molly there, and then Viper mollies, and then Killjoy mollies. And it's just really hard for 100 Thieves to get a plant off, which is like really important. So they decide, damn, I can't get the bomb off. We have to bait out all these mollies if we want to get this plant off. So they decide to run back, right? And then once they run back, they're sitting behind yellow. Killjoy decides to let her ulti go off, right? So her ulti goes off, and they're still standing here. They're sitting here. They're not making any noise, not making any presence, still being quiet. They waste a Silver Drone to check if they're still there. They throw another molly to delay the plant again. They're just waiting. They're waiting. They're waiting. They're waiting. They're waiting. And then eventually, you can see the Sova in the chat. They're like, maybe they're not going to come here. Yeah, maybe I can just go away. And then it just leaves the Viper to fight for herself, trying to spam through the box, try to get the Viper, which she does. Steel comes up on a big flank and kills a couple of the guys, and then the flanker gets flanked, and then it turns into a 1v1. But the main thing that I want you guys to take away from this round, as this plays out in the background, is that being quiet for that brief period of time took those 2 rotators off the site and made planting the bomb not possible per se, because Envy still did a good job of protecting this little area, which I think is kind of stupid. I think Icebox is kind of a stupid map, but because of those mollies, yeah, they couldn't get the plant off, but it still took off 2 rotators. They were all over here, which were useless. Like the Sova and Jet were basically useless, and it allowed 100 Thieves that window of opportunity to try and get that plant down. So, and that was because they were quiet. They thought like maybe they were working their way back towards A. No, and that's understandable. So yeah, be quiet, you monkeys. Next round, let's go. And for our last clip, we're looking at TSM versus Andbox. Andbox does a pretty good job of creating a lot of pressure and being quiet about it, you know? So Sova decides to start a main at the start of the round, and then they hear a bunch of stomps, right? They hear the KO running up, they see the Sova ulting, they see an Omen smoke coming down, and eventually they decide, okay, guys, be quiet. Let's not go away. Actually, here, I'm going to bait out some rotates. So you can see that their bomb, right, is still an A short. And their Omen is going to try and hold like space on long to make sure that nobody pushes back in on them. And they decide, I'm sure that their comms are like, hey, let's make some pressure mid and let's end back towards A, because they're all rotated. We heard them all rotate through B because they all ran through here like a bunch of apes. TSM did it. They ran through here. That's why they knew to not just hit A. They have to re-hit, you know. So Sova decides to drone out through mid. Ye is following that drone, trying to find a pick. Their Cypher's working up towards mid. They know that there's a bunch of people in mid now, and they're like, oh, it's not going to be A, it's not going to be A, it's not going to be A. And then Astra drops a smoke down to help B. Cypher's made his way into garage somehow. They think that it's going to be like more of a mid hit, so Killjoy gets ready to put down her her ultimate here. So she puts on a turret to watch the B hit, and then while all that's happening, you see Nbox getting ready to re-hit A. And then you see Cypher here, he's trying to get some information. He sees, oh, there's a turret there. I'm gonna throw my cage here, I'm gonna shoot off this turret, which kind of baits the Astra over here and the Killjoy over here, and then Sky's trying to find the Cypher. And for that brief moment, you saw that Thryfo had 3 people's attention on him while his teammates are executing on A. So yeah, I think this is really well played. And I don't know if Nbox actually ends up winning this round, but so they made a lot of noise to try to have an A execute, right? And Nbox decided, hey guys, we can't go here because we need to re-hit. I just heard all 5 of them stampede through A here like a bunch of apes. So that let Nbox know that they need to create pressure elsewhere if they really want to re-hit A. And that's what they did, and they did a pretty good job at it. And yeah, Nbox does win this round, and by a large margin. So that being said, hopefully you guys now know to be a little more quiet during your ranked games, because as you can tell, noise matters a lot, and noise gives away a lot of information, believe it or not. Your footsteps, your feet, and the noises that they make give off a lot of information. So I hope you guys learned a lot from this. I know I did, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.